once again to Real Shame, a show where us two guys talk about our list of movie blind spots, movies we have not seen, movies that have passed us by along the way, that we are now watching and discussing amongst ourselves in front of a camera for you to watch and to laugh and point at us. My name is
Tell us what we did wrong.
Tell us what we did wrong.
Tell us that we're not actually watching the movies, all that kind of stuff.
My name is Andy.
And I'm Adam.
And this week is my week to watch a couple of movies that I have never seen. But before we dive into our first movie of the week, we always like to start off Monday's show with what we have been watching lately, if I can get that out correctly. So, Adam, what have you been watching lately?
So, I've been playing a little bit of catch up. There's a couple movies that came out on streaming that I just didn't have time to watch that I wanted to catch up with. And these are primarily movies that came out on the Disney Plus streaming service. So I actually sat down and watched Luca, the Pixar movie.
My name is Luca.
Yep. And I think that actually is part of the reason why they chose that name. Maybe they did. Maybe they did. I don't know.
They're
maybe
not Luka Doncic fans?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
It's over my head.
Okay.
Which I thought...
I am a Luka Doncic fan. Sorry.
Which I thought was good. I think it's really pretty. I just feel like with Luca and Coco, the movies are good and really well done, but they don't have that kind of extra special thing that I feel like the Toy Stories and the Monster Inc. and the Incredibles have and all that kind of stuff. I don't know if it's because they're trying to make them more realistic and, you know, root them into these cultures, which is really great to see, or whatnot, but it just feels like it's middle level Pixar to me. It's not anything that's I want to write home about it and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I also watched Raya and the Last Dragon, which came out. That's a Disney animated movie, but you can't really tell these days if it's Pixar or Disney animated because they're both the same studio and they both come out in the same service.
It's all the same to me.
They all look the same.
Yeah.
I thought Raya and the Last Dragon was good too. Again, nothing really outstanding or special about it. I like the character designs. I like that it's kind of takes place in the future, kind of like it's like a well, no, actually, I don't think it's the future. It's kind of like there's a post-apocalyptic thing, which I feel like we don't get a whole lot from Disney. I mean, we have Wall-E from the Pixar side, but I feel like that's a side of things that they don't really dig into much. It actually kind of reminded me a little bit of when we were talking about Nausicaa, kind of like that kind of world, which I thought was kind of cool. But just, I thought it was also just okay. I didn't think it was great or outstanding. I just thought it was good. And the last thing I watched wasn't a catch-up for me, but it was a movie that I saw on Netflix. And you know me, I love a heist movie. And this one's called The Vault, which is basically a movie about how they have to break into the most secure bank in Spain, and they don't know anything about the bank. Like, the bank was built, like, back in the 1600s, and they have to figure out, like, how to break into it. And he hires this kid right out of school who is a genius, and he has to basically reverse engineer what the vault could be and all that kind of stuff. And I thought it, again, I feel like I'm mad on all these movies. I thought it was good. There's some things that they could have done to elevate it a little bit more, especially, I think if they dug more into him trying to figure out what was going on rather than that being a whole... Because the movie plays like a regular heist film, right? So each person has kind of their job. They're all doing that. And as they're kind of building up to the heist, you're following each person doing their job and all that kind of stuff. And I feel like if the movie focused more on Freddie Highmore's character, trying to understand the vault and maybe the history and research of that, it might have been more interesting to me. And also, this could definitely be a backdoor, Uncharted movie. Because they're talking about Nathan Drake. Part of the clues are coins from Nathan Drake and all that kind of stuff. Oh wait, maybe it's not Nathan Drake. Nathan Drake might be the main character of Uncharted, but the Drake lore.
Francis Drake.
Yeah, maybe it's Francis Drake is in this movie, and I'm like, oh, I mean, this could definitely be like a side mission on the Uncharted thing. So I thought that was kind of cool. I mean, of course, that's me bringing a whole lot to this movie that they're not bringing, but I thought that would be really cool if this was kind of in the same universe. But that's kind of where I was on it. I thought it was, you know, I like bank heist movies. I like heist movies, so I'm going to like them more than I probably should. And I thought this was done well, but, you know, it could have been, I feel like could have done a lot more. So that's kind of what I've been watching this week. What have you been watching?
Well, before I get into that, is The Vault a made-for-Netflix movie, or is it just a movie that was on Netflix?
I think it was a movie that was on Netflix.
Okay.
I think it's
I haven't ever heard of it.
it's
That's why I asked.
Yeah, yeah. It's a Spanish movie, I believe, because it has both Spanish and English like dialogue. It's like dual language, which I actually like discovering those on Netflix. I think those add like a level of veracity that we don't really get in a whole lot of U.S. made movies.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that, when they're in Spain, a lot of people are speaking Spanish. We get subtitles, but when they're speaking English to each other, we don't get those subtitles. I like that kind of stuff. But yeah, I believe it was. I don't believe it's only on Netflix. I believe it's just being digitally distributed by Netflix.
I see. All right, we're filming this the week after 9/11. And I see you've got a couple of movies that you didn't mention, but we have some overlap there because I pretty much just watched movies that are related to 9/11. So I watched The Report and Worth, as you did as well. I thought they were both really good. Worth is a Netflix movie that just was released, I think September 3rd, which I thought was really good. I thought Michael Keaton was quite good in it, and just was an interesting story about the fund that they set up for the victims' families after 9/11. I think you guys watched The Report before I did and were telling me about it. And that's on Amazon. And I think that's also an Amazon movie, I believe.
Yeah, but it came out a couple years ago.
Yeah, it's a few years old. I thought that was really good.
Yeah.
That has Adam Driver, and that is about the report of the kind of the techniques, what do they call them, EITs?
Yeah, the enhanced interrogation.
Enhanced interrogation techniques that they used at Guantanamo Bay, and his report and digging into that, and trying to kind of expose that. And I believe the report never even came out, right? The movie is talks about kind of how they suppress that. But I thought that was really good. So that has the person in the movie, the character is Ali Soufan, but he's a real life guy, and he questions the use of some of these techniques. That kind of led me to watch what was it? The Looming Tower. I was like, what's it called? The Looming Tower, which is a miniseries on Hulu, 10-episode miniseries, and Ali Soufan is a much more prevalent character in the Looming Tower. So that's the Looming Tower is about the events leading up to September 11th. But Ali Soufan is a Lebanese FBI agent or former FBI agent who did a lot of investigation into Al Qaeda and kind of what they were doing after the World Trade Center bombing in 1993. It doesn't start that early. It starts sometime, I think, in the mid-90s, but it kind of goes up into embassy bombings in the late 90s and the USS Cole bombing in 2000, I want to say. But the guy that played Ali Soufan, I wish I had written down his name, but I thought he was really great. So he is the star he's the titular character of the Mauritanian. So I watched that.
I know I've been wanting to see the Mauritanian, but I have not had the opportunity to see it yet.
I wasn't as thrilled with it. I thought it was not nearly as good as Worth or The Report or even The Looming Tower. It's okay, but I was kind of let down by it. But he does a good job. And then finally, I watched, as if that wasn't enough 9/11 related stuff, I watched also on Hulu, there's it was originally a National Geographic little mini series called 9/11 One Day in America. It's 6 episodes. Each one of them is roughly 45 minutes. I think the first one may be slightly over an hour. But it includes a lot of footage that I'd never seen before because they pretty much got anybody who was videotaping or filming that day. They kind of got all this footage from all these different sources. So I saw a lot of things that I had not seen before. But it's obviously a very sobering miniseries to watch. But I feel like it's important whether you lived through that time or whether you were old enough at that time to kind of remember. I think it's important to watch that sort of thing, just so you kind of know what happened or whatever. But that's what I have been watching, all 9/11 related stuff. So moving on.
Yeah, moving on
to the movie.
To the movie at hand, the titular movie.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna deal about what are we saying? I'm gonna dig into Down and Out in Beverly Hills is the movie we're reviewing today.
Yes.
So let's get into that. Richard Dreyfuss and Bette Miller are a married couple who discover Jerry Baskins, played by Nick Nolte, trying to drown himself in their pool. He is down and out in Beverly Hills.
Hold on. Barbara, is that the new pool man? Hey! 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 Call 911! 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 Call 911!
Down in Beverly Hills came out in 1986. It is directed by Paul Mazursky, second Paul Mazursky movie we're reviewing for the podcast. It's also written by Paul Mazursky and Leon Capentanos is what I want to say his last name. I figure like it's close enough. About that, it's adapted from a French play and a French movie called Boudu Saved from Drowning, which, spoiler alert, that's what we're going to pair this movie with. So that's what we're going to be watching in a few days that kind of compare this movie to. It's a movie that both Andy and I haven't seen. So let's ask Andy, did you know about this movie going into it? And what'd you think about this movie?
Yeah, so I remember, when this movie came out, I was a kid and wasn't really interested in seeing a movie like this. I knew it had Bette Midler and Richard Dreyfuss. I'm not sure if I knew that it was a Paul Mazursky movie. And I like Paul Mazursky's, or a lot of the Paul Mazursky films that I have seen. I didn't like Moon Over Parador, which he also did with Richard Dreyfuss a couple of years after this. But yeah, I mean, I knew that it was adapted from, or I knew that it was kind of a loose remake of Boudu Saved from Drowning, which I also had not seen until now. Which we're, again, as he said, we're going to talk about it on Wednesday. So now we've watched them both. I remember when we reviewed Moon Over Parador, I was really harsh on it, and I was like, "This movie's just not funny." And I want to say again, I am a Paul Mazursky fan, but unfortunately, I didn't think this movie was all that good.
I think you and Kirby have the same opinion of this movie.
Yeah, I mean, I just didn't think it was all that funny.
Yeah,
honestly, I'm not. It's not to say that I hated the movie or anything like that. I thought it was watchable, certainly. I'm not sure Nick Nolte needed wardrobe for this movie. I think he just showed up as is, right?
I mean, did you look at the IMDb trivia? Because apparently, leading into this movie, he spent 5 weeks as a homeless person. So he might have just walked off the street and onto the set.
But I feel, of course, we've all seen the mugshot of him, like after he was drunk driving or whatever. Well, I don't even remember. Maybe it was just public drunkenness.
Google that if you guys
what it was. Yeah,
want to see it.
But yeah, he looks well. I mean, this is a hard drinking, rough living guy. So I think he's perfect, for the role, and he's good in the role. I didn't have any problems with any of the acting or anything like that, but I just didn't. I chuckled a few times. It's kind of like Moon Over Parador. I chuckled a few times. I think the funniest thing about Moon Over Parador is when Jonathan Winter said he had to take a dump or whatever when they were driving in the car.
And they didn't have
that's
him
how
in this
juvenile
movie
I am.
doing that.
Yeah, he's not in this movie
Unfortunately.
saying he has to take a dump. But I didn't think most of it was funny. Most of it, I was just, I mean, I could see what they were going for, but I just was kind of let down. Again, if they played the movie more dramatic, I probably would have liked it better, but because this movie is a comedy and it is marketed as a comedy and comedies are supposed to be funny and this movie wasn't funny to me, I have to say I didn't really enjoy it overall. What about you?
I'm with you on that one. I like the first half of the movie, maybe the first 40% of the movie. It seemed like it had a lot of promise and it was going to be really interesting and kind of do some interesting things and maybe be funny, but no, it wasn't. And the ending just feels really weird, especially like remembering this movie after watching Boudu Saved from Drowning. Like what they did with the ending just doesn't really make sense. It just felt like Hollywoodified to me. Like it did bad with test audience. And the spoiler for that is that basically Nick Nolte is gonna leave with their dog. And then he like goes out to the alley and pulls like a can of dog food out of there and realizes that I don't want to live this life anymore. Then comes back and they welcome with open arms after this like big fight at a party and stuff. And it's just like, it just seems so like left field and not like earned and not what the movie was building towards. It just felt like really like they're like, this is testing really bad with audiences. We gotta rejigger this thing, And then the other weird thing is like it seems like this movie's made a lot of like top lists, cop comedy lists, and stuff like that. And it's like maybe in 1986 it was funny, but that doesn't translate to like, here's some 40 years later. But it's, I don't 35, 40 years later, I don't think it's that funny.
Yeah, and again, I mean, I feel like the story itself is worthy, and okay, so you have a guy, Nick Nolte, who loses his dog. Basically, goes home with somebody
Kerouac.
else while he's Kerouac goes off with somebody else while he's asleep. He can't find the dog, so he becomes despondent.
And the dog never comes back in the picture.
The dog
like
never
that's
comes
it.
back.
Yeah, which is weird.
Yeah, I kind of expected him to maybe to find the dog, but I guess he gets an even better dog in Matisse, who's the Dreyfuss the Whitemans, I guess is their name. The Whiteman family's dog, which that dog was not funny, but was trained very well. The dog was had some cool little scenes in the movie. But he goes to live with his family, and he has this profound effect on all of them, especially the women. It appears. Because he ends up sleeping with Richard Dreyfuss's wife, Bette Midler, and the maid, Elizabeth Pena.
And kisses the daughter.
And the daughter, the daughter.
Do they sleep together?
I mean, it doesn't really show one way or the other. I think they just kiss.
That's such a weird choice, too.
Yeah. Well,
it is.
I mean, I get what Mazursky was going for, and again, this is a remake of Boudu Saved from Drowning, so the original story is similar. The original story doesn't have, at least the movie version. I can't speak for the French play.
It doesn't have a daughter.
But it doesn't have. Yeah, it doesn't have any kids in it. It's just there's a wife and a servant or a maid. I understand they're. And we'll get into this, I guess, probably more on Wednesday, but they're kind of stuck in their lives. And, because Richard Dreyfuss doesn't sleep with Bette Midler anymore. He sleeps with the maid. Yep. The son can't connect. Max can't connect with the father or the mother. I did think that was kind of funny, the little videos that he makes. The way he kind of cuts them up. He's like, this is how I feel, Dad. And it's got like the Three Stooges and explosions and all kinds of stuff. Nudity, It's very wild. And his friends were also fairly colorful.
Yep.
That show up at the party later on in the movie. But so this family is stuck in a rut in their own little way. They're all kind of even though Richard Dreyfuss is successful, he makes a lot of money. Money can't buy you happiness, and he sees this bum start to drown in his pool. And apparently, I was reading that call 911, call 911. I guess that served to bring better awareness to 911 or something like that. Too, nowadays, we just think of 911 as as always having been around. I mean,
unless
it has been around for a while.
Unless you live in Europe, then it's 999.
Yeah. But he saves the bum, and it's kind of his chance to shake things up a little. And then, of course, the bum ends up shaking their lives up more than they thought that they would. And there at the end, like you were saying, he's like, I don't really, want to eat out of dog food. And he looks back at the family, and they're all just kind of waiting longingly, for him to come back. And he comes back, and they're just going to have this weird family relationship.
Because, at the beginning, Richard Dreyfuss's character, Dave, was, on board with, Jerry and thought he was fun. And, he was revitalizing his life. But then, he sleeps with the person that he sleeps with his wife, then he sleeps with the maid, then he makes out with his daughter, and then it's then at that, through all this course, Richard Dreyfuss starts getting fed up with him and realizes maybe he's not the thing he needs in his life and stuff like that. And then, that comes up to a fight or whatever at the party, and then at the end he's just like, come back, whatever. Yeah. It's so random.
I did think Little Richard was pretty funny, just because he's so angry. Especially when the cops come,
in 5 seconds.
They come instantaneously, and there's a helicopter and everything. And Little Richard runs over there. He's like, they take 20 minutes to come to my house. I don't get any helicopter, whatever. And then the dog starts chasing him, and he just kind of runs away briskly. And then of course he does a musical number at the party. I don't know if he and Paul Mazursky were buddies or what. And Paul was just like, hey, Little Richard, be in my movie. What I did think is funny is Little Richard at the time was pretty old, but he looks great. Yeah. Richard Dreyfuss wasn't even 40 years old when this movie was made, and he looked 60-something to me.
Old.
He looks a little rough. But apparently, I didn't know this. Apparently, kind of before this movie, he had hit a drug phase. Did you read that?
No, I did not read that.
Yeah, so after he did Jaws and Close Encounters, and he won an Oscar for The Goodbye Girl, I believe. Kind of in the early 80s, he went on a cocaine binge.
All right.
And so he had some drug problems, and he ended up getting arrested
That'll
at
age
one
you up.
point. Yeah, so maybe that aged him prematurely. But I was like, gosh, he's not even 40 years old.
I just want to add a couple things I pulled from trivia on here. Basically, this movie spurred a short-lived television series called Down Beverly Hills that came out the following year. I don't think it lasted much longer than that.
Yeah, I read that I think it was only on for 5 episodes or so, and then it
Yeah.
got canceled. And the only person that's in the movie that was in the show is the son, Max.
Okay.
He's the only kid.
And also, again, this is baffling to me. This movie is included among America Film Institute's 2000 list of the 500 movies nominated for. Oh, that's a really weird worded thing. Nominated for the top 100 funniest movies in America. So maybe they didn't make that final
Yeah, I think it's just
top 100
nominated.
list, but it got nominated, which is like, it's not funny.
Yeah. It's not funny. You're right.
Yeah.
We can't say it any better than that. And I know there are people that love this movie and think it's hilarious, laugh out loud funny. But I chuckled a few times and was mildly amused at a few scenes. But for the most part, it wasn't gut bustingly funny.
Yeah, I think there was one scene I was mildly amused on this one. It didn't have any physical violence like Moon Over Parrot Order that made me laugh.
Yeah. Paul Mazursky started as an actor before he got into directing, and he continued to act in movies, both that he directed and also movies that he did not direct. He is in this one. He was in Moon Over Parador as the dictator's mother in drag. Basically, he was in drag to play the mother. Yeah, he's in this movie as just one of their rich friends. Like, the dog has a psychologist, and Bette Midler has like a yogi kind of practitioner guy, and does all this kind of new age stuff, which again, that stuff, I get why it's supposed to be funny, but I just didn't find it funny.
Yeah.
The doctor talking to the dog or saying that the dog was depressed or saying this, whatever, just wasn't funny. They could have made it funny. I don't know if they needed to go broader or what.
Yeah,
it just wasn't funny.
Yeah. No.
I don't get it. And then Paul Mazursky's wife is in this movie.
Oh.
She plays stylish jogger.
Oh.
And Richard Dreyfuss.
She's the one that steals the dog?
I don't know if that was her or not. It might have been. I guess I should have checked that. And then Geraldine Dreyfuss, which is Richard Dreyfuss's mother, plays his mother in this movie. When they're all sitting around eating at the table, his mother is there.
I wanted white meat. Yeah, I just feel like the movie just... Like, I think at the time, the movie was supposed to be, like, maybe making fun of... Like, I was reading some stuff on it, and it's supposed to be, like, really critical of, like, the rich and lavish lifestyle. And supposed to,
Hills
like...
kind of thing.
Yeah, put that on blast or whatever. But I think, like, now it's just, like, it's not as funny or as interesting as it probably was back then,
Yeah, it probably played better in the 1980s.
So what did the critic... We know how we feel about this movie, which is thumbs down.
Yeah.
What did critics say about this bad boy?
It's 79% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes,
That's crazy.
but the audience score is just 53%.
That sounds about right.
It got 2 thumbs up from Siskel and Ebert. Ebert gave it a 4-star review, which I read the review before we filmed today, and I was like, okay. And he
That's
put it
an
as
opinion.
number 8 on his top 10 movies of 1986.
Was 86 a bad year?
Nah, I don't think so. Well, it didn't make Siskel liked it. He gave it thumbs up, but it didn't make his top 10 list of
A
the year.
little bit more critical.
And Leonard Maltin just kind of he gave it 2.5 stars.
All right.
So
So what is a Paul Mazursky film that you like that you've seen?
An Unmarried Woman
Okay.
is really good. Monkeys, Ted and Alice,
Monkey,
or
Monkeys,
Bob
and
and
Alice.
Carol and Ted and Alice.
I think we're the only one that makes that joke. That understand that joke.
Yeah, I those are the movies that kind of jump out at me. I know he's an actor in 2 Days in the Valley, which he didn't direct, but I like that movie, or I did back in the day. I don't know if I still would if I saw it now, but yeah, I would say. I mean, An Unmarried Woman was recently released. It was recently added to the Criterion Collection.
I see on your notes
Not that necessarily means anything, but
he did Moscow on the Hudson, which has Robin Williams, the late great Robin Williams.
yes.
Maybe that would be good with Robin Williams, but maybe not. I mean, we weren't too keen on Father's Day, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, honestly, I don't think I've seen Moscow on the Hudson, but I know it's kind of another one of those 80s classic comedies, so maybe we should add it to the list and watch it.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right.
So you paired this with, as we already said.
Yeah, as we already said, spoiler alert, it's already out of the bag. I decided to pair this with the movie it's based off of, kind of like echoing what we did last week with
Blood Simple and Woman, a Gun, and a Noodle Shop. Or a Simple Noodle Story.
Oh,
right.
jinx. So I wanted to do the same thing. So I paired this with the original movie, Boudu Saved from Drowning. And we're going to talk about that on Wednesday. There is a remake of that that's also French that has Gerard Depardieu in it that came out in 2006. I haven't seen that. Maybe you did.
I have not.
But I decided to go with the OG, the original. And so I don't know why I'm saying it like that. So that's what we're going to watch on Wednesday. All right, guys. Well, let us know how you feel about Down and Out in Beverly Hills. Do you feel the way we do and you're not a big fan of it? Or do you think this is the funniest thing since sliced bread? Let us know down below. Leave a comment and all that kind of stuff. We'd really like to see that. We answer viewer questions on our Wednesday episodes, so shoot us those emails. The email address is realshame@gmail.com. My allergies are killing me right now. Again, realshame@gmail.com. We answer those viewers' questions. Like, subscribe, share the show, do all that kind of social media stuff. Really helps spread the word of the show, and we really do appreciate that. And stay tuned in a couple days as we see if Boudu saved from drowning should be saved from drowning or should be swimming with the fishes. We'll see you soon, guys. Bye.